Yeah, I think I know what the issue was. I was using my primary card, so I think it must have just screwed up the video stream itself. So I'll use the second one. I won't use the primary one. I think because I was doing RTX, that only works on the 2080, and 2080 is my primary card. So it just sort of it took up all the resources and everything died, I think. Okay, yeah, to your question, you can texture them because it's basically just a shader. Like when you create it, you'll find that internally it's just a shader. Like if you create the Spectron light, you'll have to edit it. Like if I just come in here and I change it to quad, if you jump in here, you'll find the shader. See, there's the light shader. So you can actually just, yeah, you can just come in here and, do whatever you want. It should work. Like this is just edit the digital asset and you should be able to map it. Shouldn't be, I don't think it should be an issue. Okay, let's just hopefully, if it causes a problem again, I'm done. Yeah, so first things first, let's just zoom out a bit here. Or reset view. No, hold on a second. Okay, so with the rounded edges, you have one thing that is better is if you come into rounded edges and change this to accurate, okay, and you'll probably need to increase the radius a little bit more. But what it allows you to do, and yeah, so you can do rounded or you can do like a chamfer. But what it also allows you to do is you can say consider other objects, and then you can see like where, like if we look at this area, see, so it can now do like where it's in, where two geometries are meeting, you can actually get like a fairly decent rounding over there as well. I mean, it's a fake thing anyways, but yeah, you can actually do that. So it's nice. Like if I come in here and if I select this guy and I move it, see, so you're not getting any rounding now. But if you move it inwards, you'll see that, where it's intersecting, so you'll get a little bit of rounding over there. Okay, so that's point number one. Okay, the other thing you can also do is you now have like the dirt shader, which is also useful. So let me just add in like the dirt shader here. So I'll just take procedural dirt and let's plug this into a gradient, and then I'll put it into albedo. Okay, and or actually, yeah, okay, so no, let's put it into metallic. Okay, and I want to give it a little bit of roughness. Okay, hold on. Before we do that, let's just check this in albedo first. Okay, so there we go. And what you can do is you can define the radius, how much you want, and you can define the strength. Okay. You can also define like the overall radius, like this is the max radius, and then this is like, the overall radius that you can control. But what you can also do with this is that you can map the radius now, which you couldn't do before. Okay, so if I just take a noise map and I'll put in a transform 3D and plug that into dirt radius. Okay, and then what I can do is if I adjust like the contrast a little bit, yeah, and just adjust the scale. See, there you go. So now you can actually plug in like a map, and then you can adjust the max radius, how much you want. See, so you can actually have a fairly nice looking result overall that you couldn't do before. Okay. And now we can try to plug this into, like, let's make this slightly gray. And I'll make this white. Yeah. And let's do one thing. Let's do a Control-C, Control-V. And we'll make this black. So this goes into metallic. So I want like the faded out areas to be like non-metallic and the rest of it should be metallic. And let's plug this into metallic. Yeah, if it doesn't work the first time, just disconnect and reconnect. There you go. See, so you can do, something like that. Or if I make this, let's say like, reddish or something. So yeah, it's pretty nice. So this is the new, and then again in here also you have options like if you don't want like the intersecting areas to get any dirt, you can turn that off. So you can just do self. So see where it's intersecting, you won't get any, sort of dirt coming up. Or if you just do others, then only the intersecting area gets the dirt. Like everything else disappears. Yeah, you can. I mean, so you can do all, or you can do self, or you can do others. So you have like 3 options. So if you want the intersecting areas to have a different color and then you want itself to have a different color, you can do something like that as well. Okay, so we can make like 2 different dirt maps and then, adjust them accordingly. So maybe like, I don't know, let's try this. So I'm going to do like a Control-C, Control-V and take another gradient. And just for fun, let's make this blue. So this one, I'll keep it to self. And this one, this is on other. So what we'll get is, see that is blue. Okay. And this is red. So if we multiply those two together, we might see something interesting. See, so where it's intersecting, you get blue. Okay. And then, the rest of it is red. So you can do stuff like that now. Okay. Okay, so this is as far as, rounded edges and the dirt map is concerned. Okay, here's one thing to remember. Like if you increase the strength too much, sometimes, and if you increase the radius, you end up seeing, like let me just disconnect this temporarily. Yeah, increase the detail and you'll start seeing some, so you can actually start seeing the polygons. Okay, like if you push it too hard, you actually start seeing the polygons, which actually is, is not a bad way to do a wireframe render if you want to. Like if you just want to do a wireframe render, maybe, this is not a bad way to go about it. Might not be the best way to do it, but no, it's not a bad thing. There you go. Okay. But yeah, if you don't want this to happen, what you can do is just increase the tolerance. So when you increase the tolerance, then it only looks for like, the edges and the polygons are left out. So just adjust it till like those polygonal lines disappear. See, so now you don't have, that polygonal data coming in. Okay, so yeah, so just remember that, like, if you start seeing problems like that, just, adjust the tolerance, it'll take care of it. Okay, let's look at something. Yeah, okay. Now let's look at hair and skin. Okay. So yeah, I'll discard this. This is actually one of the reasons I don't like tweeting. Oh, sorry, don't like live streaming, because if something goes wrong, I have to sort of redo the whole thing again and then again post links everywhere. It's okay. Let me just do a render first so you can see what's going on. Okay, so there you go. So this is, this is with Subsurface Scatter. I haven't taken a texture, and this is the new hair shader. So I'm also doing randomization, but that has to be done through an attribute right now because the inbuilt randomization is currently broken. Okay, like they have added options, but it's not working right now. Octane 2020 is currently still in beta, so it's still not like a final release. But anyways, let's talk about this. So what we'll do is I'll create two new materials. I'll create an Octane network. Let's call it hair 1 and skin 1. Okay. And let's just assign them. So this is hair 1 and we'll do okay, let's do one thing. First, we'll set up the subsurface scatter because that's the easier thing to work with. Okay, so I'll just come in here to ShopNet, and so the way I do it is I usually work with a specular shader, but you can also use a universal, but like I'm just used to specular because you can make a specular material through universal as well. It's the same thing. So yeah, you can do that. Hello. Okay, so the first thing to remember, if you're building a subsurface scattering material through specular or universal, turn on fake shadows. Okay, otherwise you're going to have problems. So let me hit IPR and see what we're getting. So you'll get a glass head. Okay, so now let's come in here and it's pretty straightforward actually. We'll just increase the roughness a little bit. And let me just see what map I have. What HDR am I using? Yeah, okay, fine. This is not bad. Okay, so come into skin and type in medium and you'll get medium random walk. Okay, so pretty straightforward, and connect it into medium. That's basically it. Okay, so the way it works is you can now, previously it used to be like absorption and scattering, and the scattering color used to be like the opposite of the color that you wanted, so it was all very confusing. Now what you have is you have your default color of the skin. Okay, and then you have the radius. So the radius defines the amount of scattering. So the more you lower it, like if it goes 0, then it causes problems. But the lower it goes, the less scattering you get. It's pretty straightforward. And then we can just increase the roughness a little bit. We'll keep it to GGX. Okay. But the great thing about radius is that if I keep it to say somewhere around here, and I want a little bit of the bleed to turn reddish, I can just take the R value here and up it. See, so now what's happening is like the scattering areas start turning red. So it's very, very easy to do it now. So more than just it being like the random walk technology, the newer map itself is really nice. Okay, like it's very easy to get this effect, which you couldn't do before. Okay, so that is primarily the reason why you want to work with this. Okay, and then of course you can separately control the density as well, so how much you want. The other interesting thing is that you have this thing here called bias. So what bias does is if you keep it to 0, it uses full subsurface scatter, no diffuse parameter at all. Okay, or no diffuse component, but it will take a little longer to clean up. Okay, so the problem that's happening here, this edge, is basically because of my mesh. Like I did some subdivision and that's causing like the errors. But anyway, so this is pure subsurface scatter. Okay, and let me just do a snapshot of this. And if I get bias to 1, what it does is you can actually just increase this to 1. It adds a little bit of diffuse into it. So it lightens up and it also tends to sort of, go a little faster. But you can pick and choose, Like if you feel like the skin texture is getting a little too dark, you can just adjust the bias. Like get the bias to 1, it'll be better. And you can also work with lesser bounces. Okay, like usually um, when I'm doing subsurface scatter and with Octane, subsurface scatter is highly reactive to the number of diffuse bounces. So if your diffuse bounces are too low, the skin turns out to be too dark. But if you want to work with like 4 bounces and then if you increase bias to 1, you'll still get a better result. Okay, so just to sort of show you is if I come here to my render and just to check how many, so I have 6 bounces. Okay, how much of this applies to redshift? The RTX stuff would probably apply to redshift. I don't think the redshift subsurface scattering works differently. So I don't think this would apply to redshift. Anyway, so if I get the diffuse down to say 2, see, so even at 2, you're getting a relatively decent result. Okay, like which if I go back to the skin and I make it 0, you'll see how dark it gets. Okay, so if you're mixing the diffuse component, it's much more easier to light it up with even lesser bounces. Okay, but if you don't mix in the diffuse component, then then to get the same kind of brightness, like let me just do a comparison render. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to wait too much. I'll do a snapshot here. So if I come into the skin and I make it 0, and in order to get the same level of brightness, you might have to go pretty high. Like I'll have to go probably like, see, so even with 6 samples, like let me just increase the scatter depth. The result of course will be completely different because this is pure subsurface scatter. Okay, like you're not mixing diffuse into it at all. Usually I will work with this because I'm kind of crazy and I don't care about render time, but usually I'll work with this. But if you wanted to go faster, see, so the same level of brightness, you end up going to about 10 light bounces. Which otherwise, you can get the same, like a similar level of brightness with just 2 light bounces. But yeah, the result is different, like you're not getting the same result. But overall, it's pretty good looking, like what you couldn't do before or what you could do before, but it used to take a lot longer to set it up. Now it's much more easier. So yeah, so like if I bring it down to something like 5 and then I mix in the, even if you get the diffuse component like 0.5, see, so you'll get you get a nice little balance between the two. Like you get enough subsurface scatter and stuff like that. I will be doing a Redshift live stream next week. I kind of promised that to someone, and I don't use Redshift too much. Okay, I mostly stick to Octane. I know I get that asked a lot, like you don't use Redshift, but I kind of use Redshift. I use Octane for Houdini and Daz. Like a lot of my fan art is Daz. So I'm just comfortable. Like using the same render engine in both softwares gives you a little more comfort. Like I don't need, like if I'm doing settings over there, I can just bring the model here and do the exact same settings, get the exact same result. So it does help. But anyway, so this is random walk. Now let's go to hair. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they have it right now. I think they're going to add it at some point of time. The big difference between Redshift and Octane is Octane sort of feels to be a little bit more light sensitive. Like this kind of like when you do subsurface scatter, especially because I do a lot of fan art, I tend to do a lot of characters. and a lot of it is subsurface scatter. The kind of uh, effect you get with light bounces in Octane, I don't think I've seen anywhere else. Like if you take this up to like it keeps on lighting up, which is kind of crazy, right? Like if I come into my skin, I make this 0, and you'll see it keep lighting up like as the light bounces go up. See, so if you start off with like, let's keep this to 256. So if this is one, like every light bounce, you'll see it continuously, improve. Like even if I go up to like 30, or this is at 90, you'll still keep seeing a difference, which is kind of insane. Like between like 10 and 20 and 30, you will actually still see differences, which is, I haven't seen any other render engine go this crazy with light bounces. But yeah, it does give nice results. But yeah, most people don't care about this. Like sometimes they're just like, okay, I just want a faster result, which is perfectly, valid. No, so basically what will happen is your skin color goes into albedo, and then a reddish version of the skin color goes into radius. That's sort of how you work. Okay. So like if I get this to be a little more reddish, you'll see so that sort of changes more to red. And then we can just lower the value overall. See, so we can sort of define, how much it bleeds in. See, there you go. And then, as I said, like you can mix in the diffuse component. And yeah, it looks nice. Anyways, let's just take this. I'm going to undo this. It looked better before. Yeah, okay. Let's keep it there. This looks nice. And that's stupid. So let's bring this back to about 6. I think 6 should be good. Okay. Okay, now let's bring in the hair. So I'm going to take in the hair and come into SharpNet, and you'll get a hair shader. So just type in hair and you'll get the material hair. This is the same technology that that is used by Arnold and RenderMan. I believe V-Ray and Corona also have the same technology, and Cycles also has the same thing. I have 2 graphics cards. I have a 2080 Ti and a 1080 Ti. Wait, let me type that in. Okay, so let me just render this once. Okay, so I'll hit IPR. There you go. So you get like steel essentially. Okay. So the default, it goes to albedo, which is you can define a color. Okay, let me try to adjust the HDR a little so it looks better. Where is it? Damn it. Okay. Nope. Yeah, I think this is a good angle. Okay, so maybe a little more. Okay, so where are we? Let's just take a look at this. And yeah, so you have default, you can plug in a color, like a single color. You can also define like a specular color separately if you want. This is kind of bullshit. You don't really want to do it this way. But yeah, if you want to do like fancy stuff, you can do this. You also have like longitudinal roughness and azimuthal roughness. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, so you can do like blurring for the hair. Like you can just take this up. See. So yeah, so if you want like really dull looking hair, you can do that. But this is the fun part, right? So you can do melanin plus philomelanin. Okay, so basically, like if you used Arnold, then the melanin is the color from white to black with red in the middle. Sorry, with brown in the middle. So it goes from white to blonde to brunette to black. And then the philomelanin is what is called as redness. So if you want like red colored hair, then you increase philomelanin. Okay, so it almost sounds like a word. Yeah, okay, hold on. Let me just. Okay, so if I just come in here and increase melanin, you'll see it start changing color. And then you can also increase the offset to move the specular. See, there you go. Let me just do a region render. Yeah, so if you kind of start to increase this. What? I have no idea what is going on. It hasn't crashed on me as yet. Okay, so as we grow up higher, see, so there you go. That looks better. And you can go all the way to 1 and it will become black. And then if you come somewhere in the middle and you start increasing the philomelanin, and it will become reddish. So see. So this is at 0. And this is at 1. See, so you can see it become reddish. The other thing you can also do is if you want to sort of shade it based on color, okay, yeah, I kind of blocked him for now. Okay. Uh, okay, so yeah, if you want to shade it based on the length of the curve, you can just take a W. So you get a tool W coordinate and take a gradient. Okay, so if I put this into input and let's plug that into the hair melanin. See, so you can do something fancy like that. I think it's the other way around. I think it should be the other way around. So let's make this white. Let's make this black. Yeah, there you go. See. Let me just try to adjust the HDR. Yeah, I think it's a little too colorful. Oh yeah, okay, hold on. Yeah, my saturation value was too high. That's what I was wondering, like, why is it this? Anyway, so you can do stuff like that. And then adjust, like your offset value if you want to. As I said, like the random frequency stuff is currently broken. Like, that's why I'm not using it. Okay, so along with this, we can do one more thing, which is if you want to randomize the color, you can't randomize right now directly. So instead what you can do is, or what I did was, I took like a simple color at primitive level and gave it random. Okay, and then I've written it out as an attribute. So Octane has like a special map. You can pack the color to, you know, to a map for hair curves. And so what I can do is if I come in here and I can just take image RGB and load up that particular map. Okay, give me a second. I'll need to find it. Okay, so if I just take this, I'll switch this to albedo. And if I plug it into albedo, see, so you can see the random color. So what you can do is if you want to, like, I can just take a color correct and I'll make it black and white. Like you can assign black and white values as well. Like that's also perfectly fine. But I'll just make it black and white and I'll increase the contrast and just adjust it a little bit. Yeah, so you'll get like nice black and white values in there, which you can adjust a little bit more. Like if I take it a little higher, or you can try to invert it as well. So we have more white and less black. But either way, like this is fine. Yeah, Arnold GPU is still not, very good. But now what I can do is I can take this and I can put it into a mix. So I can take a mix texture with like a couple of grayscale values. And plug that into my, I like a change back to melanin and plug this into hair melanin. So what will happen is if this is white and let's take this to black. See, so there you go. So if you want to have like black hair with a little bit of white in the middle, this is how you can do it. It works. Yeah, Arnold GPU is not responsive. Like I've had a lot of issues with it. Like I was thinking of trying it, but it kept on causing issues. So yeah, so this is how you can do, like so we can then define like maybe this is slightly reddish, and the rest of them are white, or you can go the other way around, that's also fine. So maybe like these are really dark and the rest of it is white. That could also work. That will be harder to see, to just have like a few white hair or a few black hair left. Yeah, there you go. I think this is better. But yeah, hopefully with the next build, like this part will work. The randomness frequency and stuff currently doesn't work. Like it's a main Octane standalone issue itself. But yeah, hopefully when that starts to work, you won't have to do this. But yeah, you can do it. Like it's not bad at all. Okay, so this is as far as hair and skin is concerned, or hair and subsurface scattering is concerned. Now let's do a final thing, which is okay, hold on a second. I'm going to have to close Houdini. This file is Houdini indie, and the other files are like standard Houdini. So yeah. Just give it a second. So what, yeah, Redshift and Octane do feel, I don't like the reason, I don't do a lot of animation work, so I can't really comment on that. Yeah. Okay, let's open up the final file, which is volume displacement. So the thing with volume displacement is currently there's a small issue, which is technically what you want for volume displacement is a 3D noise. Like in Houdini, you have 1D noise and 3D noise. So 1D noise is like grayscale and 3D noise is colored. Okay, let me just set an IPR so I can show you what I have. But Octane doesn't have a 3D noise option, so it tends to cause a few problems. But if you don't push it too hard, you get decent results. So there you go. This is volume displacement. Okay, so you can do some pretty nice stuff with it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do like a volume displacement. Okay. So what I've done is I have a simple volume here. If I press W, what I've done is I took like a simple ISO offset and built a volume, but then I decided to override the bounds. Okay, so rather than the bounds just being around the object, I decided to override it and make it slightly bigger. So it's, you know, the object is only like this small, but I made the bounding box to be much bigger than, you know, like if I turn off override bounds, it should look a lot smaller. You can't see it, but you know, like, hold on a second. See, so this is minus 1.4, you know, minus 0.7, whatever. And if I turn on override bounds, because what happens is that when you do volume displacement, the volume is going to get pushed out. And if the bounding box is too small, it'll just touch the bounding box and become flat. Okay. Yeah, it always renders VDB and volumes. I mean, if you keep it to volume, it renders better. Okay, I think this is done. Fine. So let's just come in here and I'll build a material. So yeah, so this is my volume noise currently. So I'm going to just take these two and copy them and I'll build a new volume material. So we'll just take an Octane network. Or I'll just make a new one, which is fine as well. So I'll just take a volume medium. I'll also take a volume ramp. So plug this in. Let's set IPR. Okay, so let's just set this up. So what I need to do is increase the scattering and then lower the step length to around 0.2 and then lower the density. Okay, so this is fine. You know, this is what we have. Now, if you want additional brightness, what you can do is you can work with the volume ramp. Okay, so just take this and plug this into absorption. Reverse the colors. Okay, so make this white and make this black. And then we'll just add a point in the middle, make it slightly bluish, and just adjust the max value. See. So you can sort of like keep it, you know, slightly faster, but adjust this to get, you know, additional brightness, which otherwise it will be just dark. Like if you just remove this, see, it's fairly dark. So with the absorption ramp, you can then control the brightness of it. Okay. So working with displacement, pretty simple. I'll just take a simple noise map and I'm going to take a transform 3D to adjust the size. And what I'll do is I'll just take a multiply. So take a multiply and a grayscale. So plug this in, plug that in. and you'll get something called displacement. So just, drop it in there, and then take the value, make it about 10 to start with, and see. So basically what happens is it pushes it sideways, which is the problem. Because it's a 1D noise, it's pushing everything in a single axis, which is where the problem comes up. So now increase the scale, and we'll make it circular and invert it so they look and we can also adjust the gamma. So let's keep it to about 5. Now you can take it high, see, so it'll just sort of push it. Like if I try to move it around, and then we can just take, let's do one thing. Let's bring this down to 0.2. Yeah, see, so you'll see more detail, and we can increase the density, and you can adjust the volume ramp. Yeah, see, so you can do stuff like that. Now, this is where I can also use the, and I built an OSL map, which is just, it's basing a gradient on the axis. So I can choose x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and it can just do a gradient for me. Okay. So what I can do is I can take an OSL. So I can take texture OSL, and I have this thing called as color by axis. So I can take color by axis and say compile. And what I can do is I can just take a multiply. And let's say I want the bottom to be flat and only the top to have this thing. So I can come down, I'll see the parameters here. So it's 0, 1, and 2. So 0 is x, 1 is y, and 2 is z. So we'll keep it to 1, and I can just plug this in here. See. So I can then just adjust, my noise a little bit like that. See, so this is actually pretty nice. Things you can do. Okay. And then similarly, let's say if I want to, add something else to this. So let's take all of this. We'll do Control C, Control V. The only difference is I don't want that. I want to take I'll take a ridged fractal. Ridged fractal looks nice. So we'll plug that in. This comes in here. And displacement. See, that looks fancy. And then I can just move it around. And let's say I want to mix them together. So I want like the left side to be a little bit like that and the right side to be, whatever. So I can just, let's lower this. And yeah, let's take another one here, Control C, Control V, and we'll do a mix. So I'll take a mix here. So this is the first one. That is, or let's take this to the second. Let's take this to first. Okay, this is, axis is 0. And let's plug that in. Yeah, see. So what I can do is I can actually like adjust it this way. Or if I keep it to 1, then I can have the bottom half to be like that, Like I can just come in here to this. See, so I can do, I can do weird fancy things like that. Oh, chips is nice. Not clouds. Yeah, there you go. So fun, interesting things you can do with volume noise. So I'll make this map available. Like uh, I'll make the OSL map available. But yeah, you can kind of use it. As I said, the only thing you want to do is when you build your volume, just make sure it has enough of a bounding box around it. Otherwise, if there isn't, it will kind of it'll touch the area and start to just squeeze everything. But yeah, overall it's not bad. So you can get some nice interesting results with it. That looks like a weird waterfall. Okay. You could probably animate this. Like you can have this thing going through. See. That looks fancy. Yeah, anyways, that's wow, that's a fairly long stream. I think I went for like an hour and a half. I crashed in the middle, but yeah, otherwise went for a pretty long time. Okay, so yeah, this is all the major stuff with Octane. Um, I will do another stream for OSL because OSL is interesting. You can do a lot of stuff with OSL. I'll make my OSL maps available. I'll put them in a zip file and upload it. Uh, Attributes, it has point support, polygon support, curve support should be coming into the next version. Yeah, so the curve support is not done as yet. Okay. Point support is there. I was going to show it, but it's not. Okay. I didn't have time. I'll do another video. It's not complicated. You just take particles and give it a color. You'll find there's a map in there called color vertex attribute. Yeah, there you go, color vertex attribute. And there's also a float vertex attribute. I don't worry about the term vertex. They just call it that, but it supports point colors, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's like in Redshift it's called user data, so here it's called color vertex attribute. Same thing. Yeah. Anyways, I hope this was useful. Maybe you can do some stuff with this, and thank you for attending. And yeah, next week I'll definitely do something for Redshift. I keep saying that, but yeah, I think I should do something for Redshift, and then hopefully I was going to do Arnold, but I still find Arnold GPU to be buggy, so I haven't really done anything with that. But yeah, one for Redshift and one for OSL. We'll do one for OSL. Okay, so see you. Well, I'll see everyone next week. Okay, bye.